welcome back to another episode of the Movie Fandom Show. I'm your host, Matt Kearns. With me today is someone who I've been trying to get on the show for a while. She didn't know what movie she wanted to do. Now she's picked one. It's Take Three's own Kristen Smith. How are you doing, Kristen?
Great. How's it going with you?
Great.
Awesome.
God. So
this is going so well.
So Kristen, what movie did you bring for us to talk about today?
I am forcing Matt to watch That Thing You Do. I think everyone should watch this movie. I don't think enough people have seen it, and I think it's completely underrated. And so watch it if you haven't watched it.
So I will ask the question that I ask all my guests. Can you remember the first time you saw That Thing You Do?
Not specifically the first time, because this was a movie we watched a lot as a family. And so I remember there was a friend of our family's Christmas party that we used to go to every year. And every year they would be watching this movie. And so I think that's the first time I started watching it. And I just remember, like, you know, everyone would gather around and watch this movie. And it's not a Christmas movie by any means, but like, it's just, that's when everyone was around, and it was a family tradition for them. And then it became like a family tradition for us to watch it together. And it was just it's a good, fun movie.
Yeah, so for me, this is the second time this has happened on the show. The first time was Nocturnal Animals with Russell. I never saw this movie until this morning. I've heard about it, though.
From me.
This was, if I'm not mistaken, this was Tom Hanks' directorial debut. I could be wrong about that, but yeah. And so I've heard it. Right. It's come up in discussions of underrated films, and well, we'll dive into it. So, Kristen, what is the first thing you want to talk about with this movie? It can be a character, it can be a scene, it can be the music, whatever, you know.
I think that we should definitely start out with the most important part of the movie, which is the music, because there's really only like one song. I mean, there's a ton of songs. If you see the soundtrack list, you're like, oh, all of these
but
songs
there's only
are
the
in this
one
movie?
song that they
but
sing.
Like, it's about a band that is a one-hit wonder, and so there's really only one song, and it plays a lot during the movie. And it's That Thing You Do. It's named after the name of the movie, and it is one of the catchiest songs that you'll ever hear.
Doing that thing you do, breaking my heart into a million pieces, like you are.
It will get stuck in your head for the rest of your life. And it's just fun, and the music itself, it's a period piece where, you know, you get a lot of music from that time zone. So outside of just the main song, you get a lot of other kinds of like doo-wops and, you know, Supreme type songs. And it's just interesting to see that, you know, area of music where these big festivals really were very popular. This was like the era of the Beatles and the era of all these like big bands that came out and would tour around the country at these like little small events and big giant festivals and stuff. And it's just it was cool to see the different styles of music during that era. But then also, like, that main song is just get out of here, the catchiest thing in the whole world.
It is. It's very catchy, and I think the movie did a great job of using, you know, music is such an important thing to movies, and it can help drive a setting. And they really drive that this is, I believe it's 64 is when it's taking place. Like, they drive that you're in the mid 60s, like all the music around and even the song. And I thought, you know, I know this is probably light foreshadowing, some people like to call it, but the fact that their first band name is called Wonder with, instead of the W, it's a one, because they end up being a one-hit wonder. I was like, haha, I bet you I was supposed to pick that up.
It's also kind of cheeky because, like, the Beatles were not like Beatles, they were Beatles. And so then they were like, we're going to be the Wonders. And there's like an ongoing joke where everyone mispronounced their name. And so, like, there's the Onetters, there's the like Oneaters. they you know, it's just an ongoing joke.
Yeah, until Tom Hanks is like, we're going to call you the Wonders with a W.
yeah, we're just gonna forget this ONE thing. But that's some of the funniest stuff. Is just the Lenny, who's played by Steve Zahn, plays into it so much. They're like, no, we're the Onetters. Like, it's a funny like ongoing joke.
Yeah.
But you know, it was trying to be cute, like the name, I guess.
Yeah, Lenny actually was funny. Steven Zahn is someone who, if anyone grew up in the early 2000s and you know the movie Daddy Daycare, that's where I knew him from. And I was like, oh my God, it's him! Except he's like younger. And he was, yeah. But there's one gripe I have with this movie, and I have to look up I think his name is Jimmy.
Oh,
His
yeah.
treatment of Liv Tyler pissed me off and this is just more a thing of just who I am. I go, you have Liv Tyler, mind you, this is like 1996 Liv Tyler, and you're treating her like crap. What the hell, man?
Well, that
What
was
are you
his
doing?
character, though. Yeah,
Yeah,
and
I
you're
know,
supposed
but
to
it's
be
like,
upset about him. Like he's the tortured soul artist. You know, like he's not the best person to be involved with, but she likes him because he is like sweet in his own way, and she enjoys that he, you know, has this passion for music. But then the passion for music consumes his entire life, and he forgets what's important, and that's like the progression of his storyline. But
yeah.
yeah, the Liv Tyler deserves so much better, but it's okay because at the end she gets together with Tom Everett Scott's character, Guy Patterson, and everyone is happy and we all rejoice.
I mean, that's just a great name. I mean, how long do you think when Tom Hanks was drafting the script for this that he was like, Guy?
Yeah. Well,
I like to think that they wrote the first draft of the script and they didn't really have all the names laid out, so it was just like Guy walks into the appliance store, and then they just kind of just left it as Guy.
yeah, and some of these names he wrote on purpose in certain ways. Like Guy Patterson, like he's supposed to be a cool drummer, and so like what's a name of a cool dude? A guy. So like it's just a cute name. And then you've got the guy who plays bass for the majority of the movie, who his name in the movie is TB player, which is just the bass player. And that gives me so much joy, because if you know anyone in a band or have ever been in a band, like everyone always forgets the bass player.
That's true. They always forget the bass player. Like whenever people talk about School of Rock, no one talks about the bass player girl.
No one talks about the cool bass player girl.
Yeah.
I mean, she's awesome.
Especially in this movie, the bass player, like, I love the whole scene when he's with the Marines at Disney World.
Oh,
and they're riding with Mickey Mouse. I was like, oh my God.
But then it's so this is why I love this movie, because it's such a clever commentary on kind of bands and like music, without feeling like a commentary on it. But like he was so easily replaced, because like no one cares about the bass player. Everyone cares about the lead guitarist. Everyone cares about the drummer if they're good, and the lead singer, and that's it.
Yeah.
And the bass player, he's just a guy who literally had no name. Like he never was named once. And if he was like mentioned during the movie, it was, hey, the bass player, or, you know, the guy who plays bass. And then at the end of the movie, he just leaves and is replaced like immediately, and no one cares. Yeah.
Well, they even say Tom Hanks is like, well, we were going to do this anyway. So we might, like, there was no search party. It was just like, let's just replace him now.
Yeah.
Tom Hanks in this movie, though, kind of I'm not going to say it's like a super, like, it's not like Robin Williams in 1 hour photo different from himself, but like he wasn't a dick per se, but he was a scheming, like, record label guy, which is not who I normally think of Tom Hanks. So he does have a great line that we'll get to when we talk about favorite line. But what do you think about Tom Hanks in his own film?
I think he does such a good job, because this was in the era where Tom Hanks was like America's sweetheart. Not that he's not still, but he was doing comedies and rom-coms, and he hadn't quite gotten into a lot of the dramas yet. And so to see him as like this really, like, I would say he's kind of sarcastic, and like he's got a hard edge, and he knows what he wants and he just goes for it. And he's not necessarily a dick. He just understands the harsh nature of the music industry. And it's completely opposite from his other characters that he has played, especially within this era of Tom Hanks' filmography. And he just plays it so well. And like, he is like a harsh guy and he can be kind of a jerk at times, but then near the end of the movie he's like really like genuine.
Yes.
And you see that he's as a record label like guy, he, you know, has things that he has to accomplish. But then as a human being, he understands, you know, the nature of the industry. It's really cool. I love the kid.
Yeah, it's a fine line he walks between, like, you could easily take this character and make him an asshole record label guy, which if you watch a lot of musicals and a lot of movies with bands, they have these, and they're normally portrayed as a villain. He's not. He's, like Kristen said, he kind of is just like, well, these are things that are in the contract that we kind of just have to do. The music in this movie, just to go back to it, is so catchy, and it's so fun, and it's because we don't really have like one-hit wonders anymore. Like, that was like a real 60s, 70s thing, which is there would be these bands who would have the one song that would be on the radio, and then by the end of the year, no one remembered who they were. Like, that was just what happened. You know, people would go on the Ed Sullivan Show, and then they'd leave, and no one would care. And I thought the film did a great job of capturing that era of when you're the band being caught up, and how quick, like, the band literally breaks up in like 5 minutes
Pretty
over
much.
the fact that the lead singer doesn't want to cover music. And I'm like, really? The hell?
Yeah, and that's the thing too, is he very much was like in it for the art and had very strong ideals. And when they were tested, he was like, nope, I'm done. And he basically dragged all these people, you know, and the thing is, like, the band would have been nothing without Guy, because the music that they had been writing just wasn't that good. And as soon as Guy stepped in, he was like the backup drummer. He stepped in and he increased the tempo of the song, the main song, by like double, and it made it like a much better song. But you know, then Jimmy's like, I have too many ideals for this, and I'm leaving. Well, then at the end they do like, you know, where are they now? And they give the credits, and it's like Jimmy started a band with the, you know, he named him the Herdsman. He's currently with Playtone, which is the record label in the movie that Tom Hanks works for. And it's just funny because after all that, he is right back where he was before. And it's another thing that just shows the nature of the music industry. You can have your ideals, but at the end of the day, you have to do stuff to make the record label happy as well. And he basically sold out, which is hilarious.
That's the thing about artists, and usually mostly with bands you see is, well, there's a choice between being artistic and making money. Because most of the time, if you want to be artistic, you're not going to make any money. If you play ball with the record labels, that's how you make your money. Another thing that I thought, and it came up straight in the credits, was Charlize Theron is in this movie for like 10 minutes. I was like,
she's the receptionist. Yeah.
No,
yeah.
she's not. She's Guy's.
I thought she was a receptionist. Oh, she's Guy's girlfriend. You're right. Yeah.
And who falls in love with her dentist in like 5 seconds.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then she's gone from the movie. I was like, to think Charlize Theron like today would not be in a movie for like 10 minutes and then just be gone.
She wouldn't get
ridden off screen.
The receptionist lady is someone, and now I have to look her up, and I just don't remember what her name was. Marguerite, was that her? In any case, yeah, it's just funny sometimes when someone's in a smaller role and then you realize who they are. You're like, no way, they weren't big back then, I guess. But then you've got the people who are the actual stars of the movie, and like, you know, Tom Everett Scott doesn't do a ton. Liv Tyler doesn't do a ton. Steve Zahn is kind of maybe the guy who's done the most since this movie. But the rest of the cast, like Jonathan, whatever his last name is, who plays Jimmy, I'm professional. Like, none of them have really like broken out. And then Charlize Theron is just in this little throwaway role, who now she's like a huge star. Yeah. So it's, you know, it goes to show you sometimes the smaller roles are the ones that actually, you know, get you noticed on stuff.
Yeah, it's just the crazy thing about the film industry is, you know, I mean, you go just if you have a favorite actor or actress, just look at their filmography and you'll see like like Harrison. My favorite one is Harrison Ford because they always use a scene of I forget what movie it is, but he plays like a bellhop and he has like one scene, and it's like to imagine watching that movie whenever it came out, and it's like that's Harrison Ford. In like 20 years, everyone's gonna know him, but he was just the bellhop.
Yeah.
But to get to, there's a lot of great lines. Like,
Oh,
do
that's
you
my
have a
favorite.
favorite line in this
I
movie?
have many favorite lines.
Tell them to us, Chris.
There's and I say these like on the regular. There's so many good stuff. So there's Lenny basically has all the good one-liners. At one point, they're playing on this beachfront, and he's like, "No, now we're Captain Geach and the Shrimp Shack Shooters." And so, like, whenever someone asks me, like, "What would your band name be?" I'm like, "Captain Geach and the Shrimp Shack Shooters." Like 1 out of 10 people will understand the reference. Lenny also is like, "A crazy guy and a really cool camper wants us to put our song on the radio. Give me a pen. I'm signing. You're signing. We're all signing." Like, there's just so many like little one-liners in this movie that are so memorable, and like I can bring them up in regular conversation. Like if someone hands me $1, I'll be like, "Ooh, presidential flashcards!" Like ridiculously awesome.
For me, mine is not really a funny one-liner, but it was just like the way Tom Hanks delivered line. It's after Liv Tyler breaks up with Jimmy and she walks out the door, and Jimmy goes, "Which one of you told them that we were engaged?" And Tom Hanks just looks at him and goes,
Same person who said you had class, Jimmy.
Yes.
I was like, "Fuck."
Yes.
That's a Tom Hanks. The way, because that's when you're like, "Oh man, he is a good guy. He's a good natured guy." Because he's like,
Yeah.
"I thought you were a good person. I thought you would treat her right, you ass."
Right. Yeah.
Like, just I love Tom Hanks in that
Yeah,
moment. I'm like, yes.
because he does care about them. Like he cares about them, but he also cares about his own career. And so when things start breaking up, he shows like his true side of himself. The other things that I really like are and I say this to my sister a lot because she can get super like moody sometimes. And if she leaves the room, I'm like, there she goes off to her room to write the hit song "Alone in My Principles." Like it's just applicable lines. We have like a family joke, like everything my dad makes that like for dinner that is like his specialty. He calls it like the "I am Spartacus" whatever, like the "I am Spartacus" meatloaf, the "I am Spartacus" burger. And that's from this movie. I mean, there are so many applicable lines in here. There's also like just lines where they say things like "bands come and go. You just have to keep playing no matter what." Like things like that are like, you have the applicable lines that are hilarious, and then you have like the applicable lines that are like, your dreams may not always be what you expect them to be. You just have to keep trying. You just have to keep doing what you love, no matter what you're doing it with, because that's what's most important, is that you just keep doing what you love. And it's a great message, and it's like really hidden in this movie. But I love that they, do put stuff like that in there, because so much of this movie is hilarious. And then you get just a couple instances of like really serious, really like touching scenes.
Yeah, the movie does a good job of like, it doesn't force feed its message to you, which, there's a lot of movies that make that mistake where, especially like, I know maybe bands and sports aren't, I know they're not like that, but like a lot of sports movies will like force feed you if you're an underdog, just keep trying and you'll win the game. And it's like, okay, I get it. It's like, I understand, but this movie, like you said, Kristen, but it does, you kind of, when you sit back and you think, you go, "Oh, now I get it." The one thing though, and it's not the movie's fault, it's more just me watching a lot of movies like this and just watching a lot of movies in general. The minute there's a scene between Guy and Liv Tyler's character near the beginning of the movie, and I literally went, "All right, so how long until they're a couple?" Like I was like, okay, I know she's
That's
dating
fair.
Jimmy, but how long until they're together? And I was like, oh, it's one of those end of the movies. All right,
Yeah.
sounds good.
No, that's fair, because they did have good chemistry together, and that's definitely.
And Guy cared more about his non-girlfriend than the dude who's actually dating her.
Yep,
Which
pretty much.
and then the end of the movie, I love how they do the like, "Where are they now?" And there's a
Oh
great
yeah,
thing with Lenny where you see Lenny doesn't show up to the recording because he's in Vegas and he marries
yeah,
the secretary. And I
yeah.
love how it says he's like running in a casino, and then they make sure to put in the he is currently
He's currently
single.
single. Yes.
I was like, that just works. That just makes total sense for who that character is.
Yeah,
He
because he like
would end up.
repeatedly says it in the movie too. It's
I
fantastic.
yeah. So, Kristen, are there any like final wrapping up things you want to say about that thing you do?
I mean, I know like we talked about like really serious stuff and like about like
It's a
following
fun
your
movie.
dreams and
It's a
this
fun movie.
this is one of the most fun movies, and like it's just the story of these guys who are in a band that somehow make it big and they break out into this world of music, and it's unexplainable the amount of success they have in such a short time, and then they break up, and that's just the story. But in it is so much like heart, and everyone is so invested in this movie and invested in making it work. And there are so many great lines in this movie that are hilarious, and it's one that I will rewatch just if I'm like feeling down or like need like a good pick me up. Like this is one of my go-to pick me up movies because the music is so catchy, the lines are so catchy, like it never fails to put a smile on my face. It's just one of my all-time favorite movies.
Yeah, this is a fun movie. Like we talked about more of the serious stuff, but that's more reflective stuff when you think about it. But on the surface, it's funny. Like I laughed a lot watching the movie, and there are, I'm not going to say that it's a perfect movie. Like there's, a couple of characters are a little bit too much of a dick, and the movie does. I will say, what's the runtime? This movie is like just under 2 hours. It does rush to an end very quickly. Like once they get into that recording studio, the movie is very just like everything is
Yeah.
just sort of finished. Which I mean, I understand that's how they chose to do it. But that was the one thing where I was like, they could have spent like a little bit more like time in this. They didn't
Yeah.
have to just be like, okay, we're finished. We got like 5 minutes of film left. Let's get to the end. But overall, like I enjoyed this movie. I'm glad that I heard about it. I never bothered to watch it because I have a list of films that I being told I need to see. But I'm glad that you chose this and brought it on so that I finally saw it. And thank you, because now I have this damn song stuck in my head all day.
For the rest of your and it'll be there for the rest of your life, so you won't even be thinking about it, and then all of a sudden you'll just be like doing that thing you damn
Although,
it.
which song do you have stuck in your head more often? That thing you do or the DuckTales theme?
Gosh, it's between the two, but also like there's like Mr. Downtown. Like I have all the songs stuck in my head
my
from the
God.
soundtrack. It's not just that thing you do, like all of them.
All the songs, all the records.
Yeah,
That is
basically.
what I did there.
Yeah.
So, Kristen, I want to thank you for finally coming on my show and bringing on a great film. Where can the good people find you?
You can find me on Take 3 doing the live watch-alongs. Also, you can find me Twitter, Instagram, and Stardust at Smith_K10. And I also started my own channel, which is just the Film Smith, where I'm just doing my own reviews and reactions and stuff on there. So yeah, check me out.
And for me, guys, you can find me at Kearns_Matthew on Twitter, MattMovies611 on YouTube. And I want to let you guys know something. This is the last episode of the Movie Fandom Show in this format for the year. The next episode I upload, which I believe is going to come out the 2nd of December, it's going to be a different kind of video. Hopefully you guys like it, and that's going to be the last episode of the year because I got finals and I have other stuff I have to do on the channel. But so thank you guys who have been watching the show for this. God, it's almost the end of a year. And just I'll be back. I'm not going to tell you what it is. It's going to be a surprise, but I think you guys are all going to like it. And until then, take care and remember to keep loving movies.